Oh, your money can another minute. Bye. Hi, Kevin Blanch. I want to talk about the economics of cancer today. Steve Jobs, tied into China. Look, if you think this is the story of America, this is the story of America, this is the story of America, this is how we have turned. If you don't think we've ruined this country, boy, you know nothing. Your chances of getting catastrophic cancer are 50-50. As a lot of people you know, my finances, I've been rich, I've been poor so many times in my life, it's unbelievable. I was doing so good over the last decade. As you watch my finance calls, and on October 13th, I get hit by a truck. I'm blown away. I'm still devastated. I've always been able to do what I want, when I want, how I want, because I've been able to manage my money in a prudent fashion. I refuse to buy Chinese goods, which I think this topic will tie in good with Chinese Jobs. I refuse. I refuse to be a Walmart. I've never set foot in a Walmart. I refuse. I won't even walk in one. I won't buy. I buy everything retro. You people know that. You people know that the metaphor in my hat. You people have watched, you know, those coats I wear were made in Manhattan in the 50s. You know, the old cars that I drive. I'm driving a freaking Mini Cooper right now because my Detroit-made Cadillac finally broke down on me. Talk about insult to injury when I got sick. Driving back from the hospital, my niece gave me her Mini Cooper. So I drive that. I refuse to buy foreign goods. I won't. I refuse to refinance my house. I was doing so good. I don't have a wife. You know, 2 years ago when things got bad, I thought, go back and get your PhD. Why, this economy sucks anyway. You can't make any money doing anything anyway. Well, when Obama became elected, I thought, God, technology is going to come back. I was managing a couple portfolios, managing an endowment. That's what I was doing for a living at the time. And I'm like, let's go all in Apple. You know, and so I bought my, you know, I did. I bought all the things. Well, that's a long story. Them dumbasses backed out. But anyway, I bought myself some. You know, and I started trading derivative. Well, you people know in August when the market was melting down, and I was putting up my videos, and I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning to everybody, it's not melting down, it's not, double down, buy this, buy this, buy this, this is going to be one of the greatest buying opportunities in American history. Kramer's screaming his head off to get out, get out, who's a con man. He's a phony, he's a fake. You watch his advice, you track his advice, you would be bankrupt so fast beyond belief. Of course, it don't matter. The medical industry is going to do that to you anyway. So, I'm going along, I got a little stock portfolio, it moved up, off chump change. I went in August and said, I'll buy the April 580 call derivative. They're trading at, you know, less than $1 at the time. They're $38 today, by the way. So I had some. You know, I'm thinking, God, I'm doing so good. I'm up to about $350,000. I'm just finishing up my PhD, and I paid for my PhD as I went. Those PhDs are expensive. A lot of people get fellowships. I didn't. I paid for my own. You know, and I did a lot of socioeconomic work, and I proved science fiction economics. I did a lot of data in that PhD. Well, here we go. And by the way, did you see we're getting, you know, I've been chirping about tariffs. Did you see we're getting them? Did you see we're finally getting, I told you it was going to happen. I like these guys call themselves Canadian Solar, and they're in China. Did you see we're putting 150% duties on freaking solar panel thing? I told you it was going to happen. It's going to happen. Well, here I'm laying in the hospital, third time in the emergency room. By the way, this scumbag, same doctor, in this scumbag emergency room, there's a girl that's in the hospital with me who's dying of leukemia, who's 23 years old, who was uninsured, who walked in, she's got a few tattoos on her. 16 times. 16 times she was in that emergency room. So they called the cops on her for doctor shopping. It was leukemia, which is a simple diagnosis. It really is a simple diagnosis. You got an elevated white count, you come back a few days later, you feel better, you still got an elevated white count, you probably got leukemia. Well, I'm watching the interview laying in there for the third, I'm like, oh God, they finally CAT scanned me. And by the way, if it wouldn't have been for some of you guys typing in there and saying, a doctor came into my site when I was talking about carcinoid cancer, they diagnosed me wrong, and he said, they love to cut things, Kevin, they love to start wiping. I've had the same philosophy as Jobs had. By the way, who I met 3 times when I was semiconductor analyst, shook his hand. Never said a word to anybody. You should shake hands. But I'm watching, and there's Isaac's interview, and he says, finally, Steve Jobs, they came to him and said, the body is here to serve the mind. And he ended up having it. Well, he lived with pancreatic cancer, had a liver transplant for how many years? How many Steve Jobs are in the world? Honestly. How many? How many 1%ers can handle this? Well, as I'm going along this treatment, I'm thinking to myself, I started checking out all the great AML units in the country after I found out it was leukemia, because I refused the surgery, which by the way saved my life, refusing the surgery. Because I will not have surgery on my body. I'm scared to death that it was my old uncle, the great cardiologist who's dead and gone now, who started the Ogden Clinic, told me many, many years ago, unless you're going to die, do not let them open you. Do not. Too many people die from anesthesia, too many die from complication. It's just I refused it. And by refusing that philosophy that Jobs had, that I had to save my life. As I go in there, I find that we have this great AML unit right here. Well, it's a waiting list to get in. I sell my stock portfolio, was about $340,000. Wrote a check for the whole amount. Here, a person like me, I didn't refinance my house. I'm very prudent with money. I'm very living in my means. I'm very down. I buy wrecked or everything. I haven't bought a new car since I left Wall Street in '99. I don't blow money. I'm very freaking, like I said, down to earth. I don't have hardly any debt. I think that's how I was able to live happily. And you know, I'm not married. My children are raised. I don't need a lot of money, you know. And I got this nice service starting to rage. Well, lo and behold, boom. Mowed down by a truck. I really didn't understand. Even doing my PhD, I knew how catastrophic. Boy, I didn't really get it. Boy, do I get it now. I talked to a guy from Idaho in there yesterday. He was about my age, a year out. He's having a bone marrow transplant. He says, I have good insurance. I'm talking to his wife, you know. And this is just as hard on the spouse as it is the people having, I think. Talking to her, we're financially destroyed. They tell you straight up, you can forget working even if you live for 3-4 weeks, or 3-4 years. These treatments are intense as hell. As every time I've got low down in life, I grab that hockey trowel and fly across that freaking wall. You know, I go across the wall, a building with that hockey trowel, make your head spin off. Everybody knows that around here. Save me, not anymore. I'm done. I thought I was so fun. If this can happen to me. So I'm telling the doctors in there, what the hell do people do? I'm talking to nurses in there, you know, I've got to be friends with them. And they says, oh, it wipes everybody out. This is the catastrophic thing. Well, okay, so you're heavily insured. The copay is 10% or even 5%, but the copays aren't. But they all have caps. These things cap out. Bone marrow transplants themselves alone are $500,000. Just the bone marrow transplant. These bills are $1 million, but nobody can pay. And your chances of getting there shall go way up. And I love the Ayn Rand philosophy fuckers out there. As Ayn Rand and her husband, as rabid as they were both on public assistance in their life because they couldn't pay their medical bills. They're both on Medicaid. You know, how many jobs? Jobs, you know, it's ironic to me that this comes out. I'm watching that thing, see Chinese Jobs. He would be the richest man in the world probably right now. When he died, his stock has doubled since then. When he died in October, early October, he would be the richest man in America. You know, he would have passed Gates, he would have passed Buffett by far with his equity. Of course, when you own your own country in Saudi Arabia or, you know, one of these places, they just, you know how Saudi Arabia squashed their spring. They wrote a check, they put in the country, and we don't allow this. We smash our own people down here, but that's a whole other rant. I can go on there, really pisses me off. But as cancer victims, we're screwed. Done. We're done. In the state of Utah, they have these phony fake collection attorneys that are everywhere. They just sue even if they have no merit to sue. And they'll sue the fuck out of you. Do not care. I'm done. I'm fucking wiped out. And the spouses, as people pass away, they're left with those fucking bills. You know, it's funny. Like I said, when I did that intro video, I'm going to put that butt up. What is the statistical probability of a nuclear disaster in America? And I go into that satire, and at the end I open up. The only thing from 1980 I see is an apple. And I pull that apple out there. How freaking hypothesized was that? That's all that's been created is the apple. You know, this is the socioeconomic of our time. This is the story of America. This is the story of America. This is the story. You learn a trade, whatever. You go to manufacturing, they send your job to China. You learn a trade, they import illegals from the South with a wink and Sarah paid a wink and a nod. You move into the financial trades or whatever, and you start doing good as you roll with the flow and do what you got to do. Boom! You get sick, and it's going to happen to almost all of us. Do not think I'm abstract with this. I did. I thought I was above it all. I thought my body was so strong, and I was so strong. This couldn't happen to me. Even as I'm ranting and raving about Fukushima, and I'm ranting and raving about TEPCO, and carrying on and go psychotic. What are the odds, honestly, me being this rabbit against all this, and then I get it? Honestly, think about the odds of that. They got to be millions and millions to one. I haven't ran a regression, but I'm good at it. But it's got to be tens of millions to one. Well, as I found this written literature in the hospital, this guy had wrote about having cancer and getting and becoming homeless. Well, I guess my brother called me and says there's a really great article in USA Today Thursday about homeless and cancer. Well, I talked to this guy from Idaho, and he said he met a guy in there last year, and he was dying, and he'd been in the Midwest somewhere. And he was living in homeless shelters with a pick line. He was starting to meet people with pick lines hanging out of them in homeless shelters. Lots of them. What a country. My God. What our parents would roll over in their graves, our grandparents would roll. A waiting list for fucking chemo. You can't get in there. Try getting in there. This is the top end. You ain't getting in there. It's overflowing. It's packed. It's fucking... Honestly, how many people can write a check for $340,000? That's the only reason I got in. And I'm done. I've been on top of my bills. I can't, I'm done. I haven't had a penny income since September. Try that one out. I don't have a wife, and I don't have any bills. And I'm prudent. If this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. It honestly can happen. That is the story of America. That's how it ends. All you people in Europe, that's who we are. That is what America has evolved to. That's how it ends for all. I'm not 75. I'm not 60. I'm 51. I'm 51. And I'm wiped out. I'm fucking, who would ever believe it? My first time in my whole life, I'm so capable economically in so many ways, and always have been, and learned that from from teaching to physical labor, both. I can jump back and forth. I used to say, put on your, my jacket or put on my work boots. One day I'd have the work boots on, the other day, and I could go into that mode. If this can happen to me, this can happen to anyone. What a country. What do people do? I've talked to a millionaire contractor down there. His wife's got it done total. Every single person you talk to. I've been in there for 5 fucking months. Every person I talk to, wiped out total. They have the exact identical story. Identical story that I have. Every single one of them. These people end up in homeless shelters. These people end up distraught. I can't wait to read that article. What a fucking country. Who have we turned into, honestly? Like I said, is the fucking, you radicals, and God forbid you get cancer. God forbid you get cancer, catastrophic cancers like this. You think you got some fucking money? You're living in this, I got this house, it's worth $500,000, now I'm only $4. Go try selling it. Go try getting some more fake equity out. Go try getting your another fake appraisal by your phony fucking mortgage. It ain't happening no more. Them gigs are up. Homeless people. Contemporary Americans, hard-working Americans, ending up in homeless shelters. I read Barack Obama's book. I've been very disappointed with him. I've been disappointed with all the presidents we've had for a long time. As his mother fought with the insurance companies as she was dying. Clear back then, but it's much, much worse now. Like I said, how many Steve Chinese jobs are there in the world that can actually pay for all these treatment? All his money did not another minute buy. Honestly, people in droves showing up with pick lines in fucking homeless shelters in the United contemporaries. I don't give a fuck how much money you got. I don't care. You think you got all this fucking money? You got your 401k built up? You think you got this future? You think you got this, all this insurance, this, that, blah, blah, blah? Your freaking church organization, this network's going to take it? They're not. They're not. This is America. This is the story of America. This is the story of America. This is the story of America. This is who we are. This is the story of America. Our parents would be sick. This country is fucked. This country is sick. It is sick. Very sick. And God forbid any of you get cancer. Because it's like getting hit for a fucking truck. My life is over in so many fucking ways. It is so fucking heartbreaking what has happened to me. Stay tuned. Kevin Blanch.